The government's putting its fingers into decentralized finance and coming up with regulations that might have some big effects on what's going on, especially for you. I'm Brett at CryptoGX, and today we're talking about what regulations are changing or could be changing. And I do want to warn you, we're not going to be political. This isn't a political video, but it is centered around the regulations towards crypto and decentralized finance. So we got to find out what the implications are here to know how it's going to affect us and potential investments in platforms and things like that. So to start, I'm going to be going over this article on the block that basically is suggesting that Democrats are creating new rules for decentralized finance, and there's people that are mad about it. Now again, it's going to say things like Democrats and Republicans. I'm not going to pick a side here. I'm just going to talk about what the actual implications are, even though this article may or may not be one-sided, but we'll find out. So as we go down here, one of the first takeaways from here, if you're looking at the Senate, right, the Republican side or Democrat side, whoever it may be, they're going to need more than just their own half, let's say. It's not going to be exactly half, but they need more than just their own side to pass a bill. They need a majority, so they need to work together. There's also this chief legal officer at Variant Fund. He's, kind of a top guy, at least supposedly a top crypto lawyer, that is basically saying that the Democrats have this proposal and it's unserious. So basically he's saying there's no way that this proposal would go across or be accepted by the other side. Now this proposal from the Democrat side is saying that their goal is to try to stop crime in decentralized finance. Things like just any sort of illicit activity, money laundering, whatever. The Democrats sent their proposal. This is what everybody's kind of reacting about. And the critics of this proposal are saying that these rules would basically kill certain DeFi platforms and wallets. Basically, they would ban certain platforms based on this particular proposal. They're saying it's super impossible to comply with, and it would be very difficult for any companies in the DeFi space to actually move forward. Now, the second line is pretty important here. It would drive responsible development overseas. They're saying that they think that it would basically make the talent from these developments go outside of the US, and all of these platforms would be developed from foreign nations. Or at least that's what the critics think. Now here's an important thing from this. Treasury gets to decide who's in charge and if a project is truly decentralized. Another important thing here, sufficient influence means basically they can steer decisions. The Treasury Department would decide whether a protocol is sufficiently decentralized, and essentially what is happening here is that the Treasury Department is going to be able to have this influence and have these decisions, effectively making platforms not necessarily decentralized, if this is the case. Now here they're saying people who are building platforms, website operators, and big beneficiaries of these are going to be treated like banks. Now this is important because devs and front-end websites and things like that may have to undergo heavy compliance within the US. They have to, they'll have to change things based on regulations to comply with whatever these standards are. Now the Senate is also deciding who is going to handle what. The SEC, the CFTC, basically who's going to have oversight of this, and they're going to try to create some sort of non-security crypto category, basically non-stock crypto category for these assets. Now again, all of this is still opinions here, but Republicans are saying this isn't a real bill and it's messy. They are signaling that it needs more negotiation, at least. Now the goal here directly from the Democrats is that they're trying to plug holes, bring crypto under rules. They're, currently having regulatory gaps in areas with no clear rules, and they're trying to kind of hone in on what that should be. The government is rules. It's a bureaucracy, and they are trying to figure out what to do with things. So they're going to do that. They're going to figure out what they're going to figure out eventually, and that's what seemingly the Democrats are trying to do, is just figure out the right way to go about this. And, they're shooting for the moon, at least in certain people's opinions here. Now back to the chief legal officer, Jake Chervinsky. He's basically saying that it looks like a ban, what they're trying to propose right now, and it's not likely that this is going to pass because it seems like it's too far in their opinion. Now we've all heard the phrase shoot for the moon, land among the stars, even though it's technically incorrect because the stars are further than the moon. That to me seems like what they're trying to do. They're just trying to throw something at the wall and see what sticks. Again, it is not any sort of political opinion, just based on what I'm reading in this article. It does frame the Democrat side in this article, at least, like they're, doing something wrong. So I would guess that this person has a particular agenda, but let's bring it down to what it actually means for the crypto market. In the end, this proposal isn't about protecting investors, it's about control, right? And that's what lawmakers do on both sides. It's normal. It's understandable that the government wants to put decentralized finance in, the same box as traditional banking, because that gives them lots of, oversight powers and ability to do things like protect the American people from all sorts of things. I mean, Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, I could go on. Like, let's just leave it at that and move on. But there's, things that obviously people on the other side don't like when it comes to regulation. Now, a big proponent of decentralized finance is having the ability to be completely separate from any sort of centralized entity, having oversight and control so that, your money is in your hands, right? You don't want to be blocked or banned when it comes to these financial levers that are getting pulled. Being protected is something that everybody would want, of course. Nobody wants to get their money wiped out by some big scam, Ponzi scheme, whatever it is. But when it comes to having the power over your own money, that's the whole point of DeFi. Now, they're framing this as like people are doing some sort of financial fraud, like they're doing money laundering, and like that's this huge pervasive issue that they want to stop. And while that is a concern for the government, obviously they don't want people laundering money and being criminals. That's, funny enough, what the other side said years and years ago when crypto was just first starting and Bitcoin was, not super well known. That was typically a Republican point of view towards Bitcoin and why, people should never use it. And they were saying it should be regulated and things like that. And so now the other side is trying to get some control over decentralized finance for those same concerns that, now seem to be not a concern for the other side. Now, whether you're on either side, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about DeFi, and what's important for us as users of DeFi is having that control and not having someone have any oversight of it to be able to ban and take away our funds or anything like that. If they ban a platform that we are using, then that is troublesome for us, especially if, let's say, for instance, there is a DeFi platform that issues their own coin and it is a staking coin. So you basically stake, let's say, Bitcoin on there. Let's say you put it into some interest earning pool. They give you back a coin that is, they created it, and then you can trade that back in for your Bitcoin at the end after it's earned some interest and so on and so forth. They could basically ban that platform, and then your new staking coin could then potentially be worthless if you can't then switch it back out for your Bitcoin, and their platform coin could go to nothing just from being banned. I mean, that's one specific example, but having the power to do that with these decentralized platforms is tricky and potentially worrisome if you're going to be, using platforms like that. So I get regulating decentralized finance for things like loopholes, preventing crime, protecting consumers from any sort of bad actors out there. That's good progress, that's needed. That's kind of like a healthy way to go about it. But at the moment, at least what this article and some people are saying is that it overdoes it, and it basically counts as control and almost like centralization to a certain extent of these DeFi platforms. Now, obviously, they're not going to pass this. This is not the final version of this bill. We don't know exactly what is being written and how it's going to be negotiated, but it's going to be negotiated. It's going to be rewritten. And I believe, in my opinion, based on the kind of fight of this, that it's going to keep real decentralization alive while adding some transparency around the parts that touch on traditional finance. Now, the truth is we don't have to choose between regulation in a smart way and progress and decentralized innovation and, keeping all those separate. We can kind of incorporate them together, and that's ideally what will happen. I think because DeFi has so much to offer, and clearly the Republican side is seeing that, I assume, lots of people, no matter what side they're on, are seeing that. I think that DeFi is going to persevere and is going to continue, and there's going to be a nice mix of all of these things with progress and keeping people safe. But I recommend you stay tuned to the channel because I will keep updating things as these, negotiations go on, and when a bill passes, I'll definitely be explaining it to make sure you guys understand exactly what is in it and what that means. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and also leave a like so that other people can find this video. If you're interested in getting your own crypto, I'll leave links to Coinbase and crypto.com in the description, where you'll get at least $50 in free crypto just for signing up with those links. And if you want to get into meme coins, I'll leave a link to MoonShot, where you'll get to claim some free meme coins just for signing up there. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.